Hi, welcome to Rabbi Jack Live. This is the first of what I hope to be a continuing series on a number of very important issues. And let me just start off by saying we're on the 17th day of the Omer, and hence I have a beard, which is hopefully coming off in the next few days, and I will explain that to you in a few minutes. So let's start off with the topic for today. As you know, there's a famous story of why we mourn during the period of the 33 days of the Omer. The Talmud, the Gemara states that because there were 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva that perished during this time, even though that entire concept is difficult to understand, how did Rabbi Akiva have 24,000 students? But let's just go with that for a moment, even though Rav Herschel Schechter quotes Rav Henkin that says that these 24,000 students were actually soldiers in Bar Kokhba's army, and since Rabbi Akiva was a supporter of Bar Kokhba's revolt, the students became de facto students of Rabbi Akiva. The warriors of the army became students of Rabbi Akiva de facto. That's what the Gemara. That's what the Gemara, according to Rav Henkin, means. Not that he had 24,000 students, but suffice to say, he had 24,000 students that died. And the Gemara says the reason why they died is they didn't behave nicely to one another. That's all fine and dandy. What does that have to do with today, and what does that have to do with Sphira? So let's start off with number one. Number one, the whole basis of us mourning during this period of time is because we believe in God. And we believe that these students didn't randomly die, but they died because God orchestrated their death due to the fact that they didn't behave. They weren't respectful to one another. So whatever that means or is irrelevant for today's discussion, other than to say that the reason why we have a period of mourning in our calendar is because God orchestrated the death of 24,000 students, and we mourn that because it's a lesson that God controls what happens in the world, and we should learn from that. So, conversely, if God controls all the bad that's happening in the world, God also controls all the good that's happening in the world. And this week, on Wednesday night, Thursday, we go from Yom Ha'atzmaut, the day of memorial, to the soldiers that have fallen in the battles of Israeli wars since 1948. We also remember Hakomat Hamedina. We also remember the establishment of the state of Israel. And we who claim to be religious Zionists claim that this was not just a random event in history, but it happened because God orchestrated that to happen. Now we know another rule is that when there's a conflict between something good or something bad, good trumps bad. And we see this in the Torah many times. There's a concept called aseh do chalot aseh, that when we have two conflicting laws, one is a positive law, one is a negative law, the positive law trumps the negative law. And the reason is given, I believe, by the Ramban, is that positive is done out of love, and negative is done out of fear, and love trumps fear. And that's why we have the following rule that we're going to add today that hopefully will resonate not only with the limited audience of this YouTube stream, but elsewhere. And that on Yom Ha'atzmaut, where we're celebrating the establishment of the state of Israel, not as a random event in history, but something that God orchestrated to happen. So just as we mourn for 33 days because God orchestrated the negative, we also celebrate when God orchestrates the positive. And there's no greater celebration in our calendar than Yom Ha'atzmaut, where we lived and we saw God control of the universe in today's day and age. And therefore, I'm going to say the following halachic ruling. If you believe that for 33 days you should not shave because God orchestrated the deaths of the students of Rabbi Akiva, conversely, one is mandated to shave, and one is mandated to celebrate, and one is mandated to take a haircut during the Yom Ha'atzmaut commemorations where God orchestrated the positive of this world. So therefore, since today is the 17th of the Omer, and Yom Ha'atzmaut this year is put forth a day earlier, I get to shave one day earlier, and therefore on Thursday morning, God willing, this beard is coming off. And for those that wonder if you're allowed to shave on Friday, even though Yom Ha'atzmaut celebration is Thursday, Undoubtedly, if you're permitted to shave on Thursday, you're also permitted to shave on Friday, which is the actual day of Yom Ha'atzmaut, and it's Erev Shabbos. So therefore, in this year's calendar, it should be a no-brainer that you're allowed to shave on Thursday and on Friday, and you celebrate and you commemorate Yom Ha'atzmaut, and you say Hallel with a bracha commemorating the realization that God not only orchestrates the bad in the world, but God also orchestrates the positive in the world. And when there's a conflict, you always go via the positive, not the negative. Take care.